Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wise Owl New Moon, the Sagittarius New Moon, which takes place at 5 degrees of Sagittarius, which is the Sabian symbol, an old owl up in a tree. So we have quite a month ahead of us. It's been a while since I posted. I've had a back injury that I've been dealing with, but I was not going to miss the Wise Owl cycle and the chance to talk about it. And so, as the sun has set, it is the time to talk about it. Before we get into that, I would like to go back and review a little bit at the Scorpio cycle because I think it was so very important, and it has set up the cycle that we are now moving into. So, if you remember back, the Scorpio new moon came in October 27th, late that night, 11:36 p.m. Eastern Time, and it was at 5 Scorpio, which was the Sabian symbol of a massive rocky shore resists the pounding of the sea. So, over the past month, we saw the establishment take quite a hit, and that's what we had talked about, that the status quo is the rocky shore, and this relentless pounding of we the people was going to come through the waves of we the people and a shift towards the grassroots, and that the New World Order would be on rocky or shaky ground. And I think we can safely say that happened, especially with everything that we are seeing happening with the Jeffrey Epstein Prince Andrew situation. Okay, this is the primary factor in the evolution of consciousness with all of this. Now remember, was so key with that new moon was the fact that Uranus was exactly opposite the new moon. It was only a 12 arc minute opposition. So the sun and the moon were in just that tight pressure of that opposition with Uranus. And remember that Uranus is unpredictable and causes changes and shifts. And basically, I think what we saw every single day until the very minute of the new moon in Sagittarius this morning. I'm recording on November 26, 2019, by the way. Every day that cycle shifted on a dime. And so you were thinking things would go one way, and then the next day you would be dealing with a different situation, and it just flipped. And I watched this with people. It flipped daily. Big situations with what will happen next. And the only thing that I could really say, or really the only thing to remember with it, is that Uranus is in control. Uranus puts things the way they need to be. And so, wherever or whatever is aligned with our highest and best, Uranus is delivering, and it continues this cycle. So Uranus was at a widow at an open grave. That was the position of Uranus and the Earth at the Scorpio new moon. So this was about staring at a loss, looking at things and evaluating your past, and was it a loss? Do you need to do something different? Taking assessment, looking at radical changes. So a lot of people went through some pretty radical changes. We had Venus and Mercury conjunct, Saturn and Pluto were conjunct, and Neptune and the Black Moon were conjunct. Also, Mars was at the opposition of the new moon in Aries, the all-important new moon in Aries, which sets the tone and the primary theme, the overarching theme for the whole year, which is fairies dancing in the setting sun, the beginning of the end of the New World Order. So Mars was reactivating that degree, and Mars was also in square to Saturn. Mars was discharging after a storm. A boat landing stands in need of reconstruction. This was energy for rebuilding, energy of second renaissance, energy to begin things new, and certainly added energy into that massive rocky shore resisting the pounding of the sea. Think about it. We didn't even talk about that. We're talking about, after a storm, a boat landing needing reconstruction, and then the sun, Sabian symbol for the new moon, the sun and the moon, the massive rocky shore resists the pounding of the sea. We talked about Mercury at a military band marches noisily through the city streets, and about this being military ops that got attention. Remember, that was when Baghdadi was supposedly killed in Syria, and then poof, nothing. We don't hear anything about that. And the fact that Mercury was conjunct Venus, Venus being at an X-ray photograph, it was about seeing the truth of things, seeing through the noise of the military band marching noisily. Okay, so things that the New World Order was trying to drum up weren't really happening. They couldn't really get a foothold because of the X-ray photograph energetic consciousness hacking in to help us see through and to see what's not in alignment and what's not okay. A lot of this was about relationships and seeing the truth of relationships, people seeing themselves, and people taking responsibility for things. The black moon was at a table set for an evening meal that was about putting things in place and making preparations, and it was conjunct Neptune at an Easter promenade. I talked about Neptune at that degree and the black moon there, only 3 degrees off. This was about being ready and waiting, being prepared for light, for the divine masculine, Thelete, to the Gnostics, this being the Christ consciousness, that a spiritual infusion of the divine masculine would come in. And I think this happened because I witnessed not a few people having radical changes in their view of Jesus and the term Christ consciousness and what that all the different things that means. In addition to the greater divine masculine, that energy facing darkness. That would be a much longer discussion, but I mean, I saw that happening. Fascinating. It was just utterly fascinating. Pluto was at a relay race, and we talked about this being the race to impeach Trump or to expose the swamp. And what was that going to be? Exposing corruption. We certainly saw this with Biden and Ukraine and all that's happened with that with his son. And there are the others, other children of these lifer Congress people, Pelosi being one of them, her son. That will probably come out bigger this month. And then Chiron was at a cameo profile of a man in the outline of his country. This is about allegiances and people breaking allegiances and turning on each other. Now, and maybe just the fact that maybe we could see it a little closer or a little bit more accurately, it probably, no doubt, has been happening for a long time, but I think it seemed to get outed to me this past cycle, because the way it looks to me at this point is this is a falling of the New World Order, but the juxtaposition of that is really a battle within the New World Order between Soros and Queenie, in my opinion. And above that, the Rothschilds, who are on both sides and control both sides. Basically, they don't care. They win either way. And then above that, the Pacers, which we know about. And thanks to all the Anons out there and all their hard work. And then beyond that would be the controllers, the Phoenician controllers, the Olympians, the Titans. That would be who beyond that. So what I saw was that the Soros crowd really, and this would include Meghan Markle, George Clooney, Oprah, Bill Gates. I might as well just go all in here, right? The Obamas. Everyone who you've seen, Hillary Clinton, you've seen a line along this. And speaking out for against the royal family, right? And we know that Soros has basically been robbing Queenie. He's been manipulating her investments and buying up debt and gold, and he's done quite a bit of damage to her system. And so, and then now we have Prince Andrew falling, all because all this is being brought out. Looks to me like Meghan Markle has been on the yacht girl payroll for a long time, and continues to do that. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right there. Let's move over to the Sagittarius new moon. Um, I'm going to go over this part, and then I'm going to go over Hillary Clinton's chart and Donald Trump's chart, and that will be it for this recording. And the next recording will be for Jupiter entering Capricorn, which comes on December 2nd, which really is going to be the activation of the Saturn Pluto conjunction, because Jupiter is the activator of that, all of that, of those events, because Saturn and Pluto have been moving into conjunction all year. We talked about this, and Jupiter in Capricorn is going to be where the little trigger events will come in. So I'll go over those dates at that time. I don't think I have all that here, but I'm not really going to be able to do that tonight. All right, the Wise Owl new moon. Ha, isn't it amazing? All right, so the new moon came in at 10:04 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, November 26th, and it's a disseminating solar cycle, which means all month long is like a disseminating moon phase. So during disseminating moon phase, that's the time when we share our information, we share our ideas, we share our thoughts with others, and we offer our thoughts to other people about what they're doing. So we share what we're doing and get feedback, and we give feedback. It's a very information laden cycle, disseminating cycles. So wherever things stand for you right now, a lot of information is going to come in over the next month to position things into their best fit, to basically, like, the universe gives us information, and we take everything that we get this month, and then next month for the Capricorn cycle, that's when we revise and realign. That's a month-long third quarter cycle, and that's the time of revising and realigning in the medicine wheel for the astrological year. So we're going to be turning another quarter turn when we go to the Capricorn cycle, and that month will be about revising and realigning. So the information that we get this month enables us to revise and realign next month. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. The new moon makes a trine to Chiron. Mars is opposite Uranus at the Chiron point. Mercury is trine Neptune. Venus is trine Uranus. And Neptune is stationing direct as we speak. Neptune is at fullest tension of its retrograde. So if you imagine a slingshot, and when a planet goes retrograde, it's like pulling back on the slingshot, and when it goes direct, all that pressure is released. That pressure will be released tomorrow morning, 7:33, I believe, 7:33 a.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, November 27th, so tomorrow. So in just less than 12 hours from now, Neptune is going to station direct. So basically 23 hours after the new moon in Sagittarius, Neptune is stationing direct. So at the time of the new moon, Neptune was retrograde at its fullest intensity. All right. So, and ready to spring forward. So, but the key point here is that it was at its most intensity. So Neptune involves clarity and cloudiness. It involves spirituality, creativity. We should be able to implement things that we have been collecting spiritually and in our psyches over the past several months that Neptune has been retrograde, and now manifesting them, because Neptune has a really hard time manifesting things when it's retrograde, because Neptune pulls things out of the collective consciousness, the realm of ideas, and attempts to bring them into reality. But mainly it's pulling from the etheric and pulling in. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of clouds are removed when Neptune goes direct, because it's going to clear out all the fogginess and things that have been kind of shrouded and kind of murky and trying to come out with Uranus trying to bring things out. It's like there's still a lot of room for shadiness. All that's going to switch tomorrow. Okay, let's look at the Sabian symbols. Okay, of course, the new moon at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. It's an old owl up in a tree. I like to call the wise owl in the tree because, well, an old owl is wise because they've gained a lot of information and experience. All right, so this cycle is going to be about processing things, watching things, digesting things. It's about wisdom. The symbol represents wisdom, and so this is inner and outer wisdom. We gain knowledge, and with action, we get to experience, which leads to wisdom. So it's taking knowledge and information and putting it into action, gaining experience, which leads us to wisdom. We're going to be applying knowledge and action to gain wisdom. Now, there are going to be things happening behind the scenes. Owl is a nighttime, nocturnal symbol. So there's, like darkness there. And of course, it's, the owl and the phoenix both are basically synonymous in the underworld and as symbols of rebirth. And so that's what the ultimate goal of this cycle is rebirth and proper action, because there will be times when you don't want to take action, or you shouldn't take action, I should say. It is probably not wise to take action. And so you should ask yourself that question anytime you are if you're making a big move with something, or not even a big move, it could be something that's maybe something related to your black moon issues that you're trying to integrate. Before taking any action, ask your higher self, do I want to take action with this? What will be the consequences of that? The wisdom and the old owl thinks about that before getting involved, taking action, taking any kind of course or attack. I should say. Not attack. Owls only attack when they need to, right? So denial isn't really going to hold up very well. Things that we've been in denial about or having illusions about, those are going to kind of fall away. It's not going to really hold up. Now, opposite, the Earth is at 5 Gemini, which is a radical magazine asking for action, displays a sensational front page. All right. This certainly is Prince Andrew. I mean, he's the sensational front page everywhere at the moment. There are other stories that came out during the balsamic phase of the last cycle, which, as we know, it kind of sets up the way that the new cycle will play out. Mike Moore of True Pundit came out and with the recorded testimony of a child sex trafficking victim, and he was basically interviewing for the FBI, and when he passed along, they basically contracted the interview out to him to handle and kind of, a vet, I suppose, would be the best word. And the testimony is riveting. It's disturbing. The victim apparently was just vomiting when Mike Moore was transporting him to the FBI, and the FBI agent that took it over was killed. So we've seen this, or I've seen this in the past, where stories bubble up and they're so hot, and this got no attention whatsoever in mainstream media. It made it about halfway through the alternative media, and we'll see if it comes back. It deserves to come back. The victim deserves to be heard. Mercury is at 15 Scorpio, children playing around 5 mounds of sand. 5 is love in numerology. I believe this to be about the restoration of childhood innocence, and recognizing the rights of children. Now, Uranus is at the Chiron point, and the Chiron point is about the inner child and the early childhood time, and you may be having memories from early childhood or things coming up. It doesn't mean necessarily things you haven't dealt with, but you still may be having memories coming up because it's triggered. Um, you know, if there are things that are bothering you, seek out help, seek out, a therapist or whomever, because that's what Uranus at the Chiron point wants to do. It wants to heal. It wants to clear blockages to growth. And if there are any early childhood issues that are unresolved, it's going to come out. It's probably you've already had it coming out the last couple of months. Um, with this symbol, let's also watch what comes out of Saudi Arabia and the links into the child trafficking. We'll see. Now, Mars for this cycle is at the degree of the Scorpio new moon. A massive rocky shore resists the pounding of the sea. So it stands to reason that we will see further degradation of the establishment. We, the people, just pounding away. Venus is at an Indian chief claims power from the assembled tribe. Whomever takes the lead this month has the advantage in the next cycle, in the Capricorn cycle, the all-important Capricorn cycle for this year. And this is because next cycle, the Capricorn cycle, the Sabian symbol is Indians, some rowing a canoe and others dancing a war dance in it. So it's going to play in directly. Venus, this at the time of this new moon, it's squaring the next new moon and involving these symbols. We'll see what happens. What will happen with the chiefs? Saturn is at a fat boy mowing the lawn, 29 degrees of Sagittarius. Remember that. Did I say Saturn? I meant to say Jupiter if I didn't. Jupiter is at 29 Sagittarius, a fat boy mowing the lawn. And remember that Jupiter is going to go into Capricorn on December 2nd. So we just have a few more days left of Jupiter in Sagittarius. Jupiter is fresh off conjunction with the galactic center. Infusion of consciousness, of light, most definitely happened. Now, the fat boy mowing the lawn is about delusions also, and also diverted attention. So we want to be careful to look at what the other hand is doing while the other hand is making headlines, maybe on the sensational front page there. The incongruence is revealed in this. With that symbol, it's an incongruent kind of symbol. The black moon is at 24 Pisces and inhabited island. Pedophile island comes to mind. It's the black moon. It wants to reveal the shadows and certainly any type of slavery and victimization. Now, the black moon is imminently moving to the purging of the priesthood, 25 Pisces, which the priesthood has really come to be synonymous in the headlines with child trafficking, child sexual abuse, satanic ritual abuse. And the purging of YouTube could come. This cycle with YouTube's changes. You can always keep up with me at oraclereport.com if I'm not on YouTube. And YouTube has never been a big focus. I've been at this 10 years and I've only been YouTubing for a few months. oraclereport.com is my main hub. All right, Saturn is in a huge tent. A famous revivalist conducts his meeting with a spectacular performance. So who's going to revive this month? Who's going to revive themselves? Who's going to revive others? How can you revive you? get the information this cycle. Remember, it's the disseminating cycle, the time we get information, because next cycle, Capricorn cycle, revise and realign. So now you're going to get the plan of how to revise and realign and be one step ahead and very prepared going into the Capricorn cycle. Chiron is at a comedian entertaining the group. The pain that Chiron brings, this symbol always teaches us about comic relief and about laughter healing. And some things just aren't that deep. Some things are just not that important to get upset about. Some things are. Uranus at the Chiron point, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's banking. It's all banking, banking, banking. Right now, this is probably going to be one of the main things that we see manifesting out of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, January 12th, 2020. We're in the throes of it because they are close, and we've been moving to this energetic. Pluto moved to 22 Capricorn, the general accepting defeat gracefully. Who's being defeated? Are we defeated if we go to another battle? Always the question with that symbol. Remember, we had Pluto at the Union Jack flies from a new British warship, and now we have the general accepting defeat gracefully. One might say that the odds are stacked against Queenie. Not that that is any better with Soros. Okay, I mentioned earlier that Jupiter was the activator of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Jupiter expands everything. Jupiter just brings it. Jupiter rules expansion and it rules death. It's the heights and the depths, okay? It's a little known fact about Jupiter in astrology that it brings death, relates to death issues. Now, Jupiter is active in both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's charts in different ways. Jupiter is activating Hillary's natal Jupiter, and transiting Jupiter is activating Trump's ascendant. At the new moon is conjunct Hillary's natal Jupiter. Mars opposite her sun, or Mars conjunct her sun, Uranus opposite it, and Mercury is at the midpoint of her Chiron and her Venus. Now, having the new moon activating her natal Jupiter in the first house is, on the flip side, on the positive side, it can bring really great things, great rewards like jobs. People usually have some kind of a big blessing when Jupiter transits their first. And when they have Jupiter in the first, it usually means that they have a pretty big identity. And so on the positive side of that, it's rewards. On the other end, it's health. It can bring health issues or death. Having Mars and Uranus activating her sun, she's probably getting quite a zap right now. So anybody who might be having any kind of health issues, having those two planets activating their sun at the new moon, that would be intensive. Now, the new moon is exactly conjunct Trump's natal black moon. So his natal black moon is the wise old owl in a tree. It's activating it's the black moon in Sagittarius, which is a need for meaning. And can be issues with rejection, wanting people to like you, not liking conflict, which we have evidence of this being Trump's weakness. It looks like Ivanka compensates for that. It's her role, it seems. But overall, it's the owl, the imagery of rebirth that comes along with the owl and the phoenix. He's on the upswing of that now, of the sun conjunct his black moon. So it happens at this time every year. Just happened to be the new moon when it was his turn. And so at this time, you would see that's the rise of the basically the phoenix would rise from the underworld with that transit. So up until the sun made conjunction, it would be like basically going into the underworld. And then when it made conjunction and begins to move off, it's like the rise out of that. So he has a core window of opportunity to make some major moves or get things done between the new moon and December 2nd when Jupiter moves into Capricorn. So Jupiter is transiting Trump's fourth house, and it's making a trine to his ascendant. His ascendant is an unsealed letter. Jupiter in the fourth, transiting through that, expands a foundation and structure, or it can shrink a base or shrink a structure. And it's activating the ascendant, the first house cusp, which can bring in a death element. So Jupiter is activating the first house in both charts in different ways. Again, this is going to be a month where things are shown to us and revealed to us, and it's the time when we're, as a fellowship of humanity, we will be processing these things, considering them, digesting them, analyzing them. The old owl up in the tree only takes action when it's needed. Otherwise, it's engaged in basically a meditative state of watching the field and linking with higher levels of consciousness. Alrighty. Well, that was a little longer than I thought. I hope that there was something valuable for you in this recording. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back as soon as I can. And it'll be interesting, won't it? What a cool time to have an old owl up in the tree Sabian symbol. It's just kind of perfect, I think. All right, guys. Catch you next time.